Hi guys, everybody out there. Welcome to my office. We're ground zero. So you can see here I work. Hey everybody, I work near the road here. Okay. I work like the way that this place is aligned. It's kind of like a ship, like a TS, right? So I have everything kind of aligned about like how it would be if it was a vessel. Okay. And so hey, welcome. This is my nook type of thing here. I'm broadcasting from my nook. I'm trying to adjust a few things. It's the first time I've ever shot from this angle, so I've got to move some stuff out of the way. Try to get what's right going. Hey, everybody out there. So, with me, the unusual thing is the type of ignorance that comes with law enforcement in Australia nowadays. Absolutely ignorant of what my objective is. So, what everybody keeps on arguing about and telling me that I'm lying about, which the police are too fucking stupid to have done their research on, is I found the most famous Japanese journalist. Fuck, my camera's fucking pissing me off. I found the most famous Japanese journalist in history, okay? When I was like 27 or something, okay? Oh no, 28, nearly 29. Okay, so I first kind of became pseudo famous when I was in my teens, like late teens, early 20s. With Scarred Hope, I did my album when I was 21. Okay, and it still sounds really great. It really sounds great, even after all this time. But here, the police here and these type of people, they'll go around making out like I want to shoot them or kill them, or I want to fucking carry out some type of violence from here. And that's not the case. The thing is what I'm trying to do is create something similar to the document. What I've created is something similar to the Documentation Center of Cambodia, which is a genocide study research center. And that genocide study research center, I started working with them when I was in my 20s. And then I found Taizo Uchinose as a result of information that they gave to me. And then after that, they won the Ramon Magsaysay medal for their work, and then our combined work together, Mr. York. But the fucking Taizo thing definitely went in DC Cam's favor. It did. Okay. So these guys, this is where I come from before I came back here to Australia. And so these guys are running around going, CIA, DIA, he's going to shoot people. He wants to shoot us. No, people, you think that I want to shoot you because you know what you fucking done to me. So the people that read what I've written, right? If somebody had done to me what you've done to me, somebody would want to gun you down. They'd want to fucking shoot you dead. If you're a lot of the police here, the authorities and the crooks, they would just fucking shoot you dead. But we're in the civilian world, and that's not my prerogative. If you try to set me up, this is it. As I said, they try to put me away for 4 years. Scott Taylor said he was going to get me put away for 4 years for this shit they made up, right? As I said, if you guys want to try to get me put away for 4 years, I'll kill you cunts in the fucking courtroom if I have to with my fucking bare hands to make my point, okay? Because you're whack and you're trying to set me up with a fucking legitimate system with illegitimate fucking lies, okay? So, do I want to shoot anybody? No, but the police want to shoot me. That's the truth. Not all the police, right? I know a lot of the police. There's some policemen up in Nambour that I fucking really get along super well with, and they're fucking cool as fucking shit, man. They were there for the bad call, the big bad calls. They were there. Okay, so when we were there at the place and this guy was bleeding and he was fucking screaming, right? Nobody was calming him down, and he was going into fucking shock. Okay. He was going into shock, and no one was calming him down, and he was screaming hysterically. Okay. Because he'd been fucking stabbed a whole bunch of times and he was still conscious. And then he knows me. We know each other well. He's my fucking friend. And he's a black belt in martial arts. Okay. And then I said, Jordan, chill, stop it, calm down, fucking breathe. Qua. I just fucking, and then he just cut out. He stopped. He went out of shock. He went into fucking normal mode, and he stood up, and he was able to stand up and walk and get on the stretcher with the fucking ambos. Okay. So you guys haven't been in a situation where somebody's fucking wounded and they're going into shock before, like I have in so many fucking times. So today some kid come up and fucking spit on me in the street, some fucking kid that's walking along with these kids and shit, these girls. And he said something real rude to me, and I kept on walking. I said, mate, I've survived and won 3,000 fucking fights in my life, son. And you fucking talk to me like that. You guys are, let me see. You're entitled, and you don't really give a fuck. You're too stupid. You think Australia is the be all and the end all, and it's not. It's like we're in a Miss World competition, and you're the Australian contestant, and you may be in Australia, but you're representing the world all the time wherever you are, you fuckhead. You don't understand that. That's a problem. So, do the police here want the Norco shootout? Yeah, that's what they want. Because what that would do is that would make it appear that I'm the violent, big, bad, violent bully that they've made out that I am when they've had their fucking guns to my head. Okay. For 5 years. Okay. But as I said, there's a lot of policemen that I really fucking have a lot of respect for and I think are cool. And their attitude, and women too, their attitude has very much shaped me. Okay. So I would say what happened on March the 1st was horrible, but in the immediate aftermath of it, I was there with a police lady, detective, and I took her through everything straight after I walked her through the crime scene. Okay. And I learned a lot from her. I've learned a lot from Marty. I've learned a lot from all these people when I've met them by their demeanor and everything. My best friend, Jesse Lee, he's in the middle of this shit now, but he's always been involved. Him and I, we started to copyright stuff together when we were like 13 and do cartoons together. Violent cartoons. Violent military cartoons about a PMC called Black Beret. Okay. From when I was 13. So I did that. I did cartooning first, comic books, cartooning, violent comics, and then drama, art, theater, punk, drama in class, and then coming up with like writing, theater, and then doing plays and stuff for my assessments in school, and then Shakespeare. And then I got into the community. I became famous as a famous like community organizer in Redcliffe, and then got into like the punk music and the rockabilly music. And then from that, then we got into ska, and then really into the reggae and into the fusion of all that stuff. And so once I've come back here and I've had to do this banning thing up in Nambour, what I've explained it to be akin to is like back in the colonial era when they first started to get like Gatling guns and shit like that, and then they had to fight like tribes with muskets and spears and stuff like in Tibet, right? The monks in Tibet that believed that they were bulletproof and shit, right? And they were just running at this new industrialized gun that was just fucking shredding them, and they were running at it and just getting blasted by this machine gun, the Gatling gun, the Lewis gun. You know what I mean? Like World War One type of machine guns you see in the movies, like those big ones. Those just like imagine people that are like 4,000 years, 400 years behind in warfare tactics, right? Charging at the Gatling gun, and then they just keep on running and they're just getting hit. And it comes to a point that they don't even realize that, like, that it gets to a point where there's so many of them have dropped that they realize that they can't be the Gatling gun. The Gatling gun just fucking keeps dropping you guys. You just keep on running at the Gatling gun. The Gatling gun's dropping you. Boom, 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 boom. Your human wave. It's like, just imagine Rourke's drift, right? In the Zulu Wars, and imagine if they had a fucking Gatling gun, right? I don't think they had Gatling guns. They didn't. Maybe they did. No, they did. They had the crank ones. Yeah, they did have that. I think, from memory. Maybe in the movie they did, but the movie Zulu's awesome, right? Rourke's drift, the Alamo. I know about all that. So it's been the Alamo and Rourke's drift with like paranoid people following me around and shit for fucking years, thinking that I'm like a terrorist because I believe in free speech. And that's it. And it's not like, I'm not like an anti-vaxxer or anything like that. I was a fucking COVID marshal. I was telling everybody to vax. I tell people all of the conservative things. So like when you see Ted, right, what Ted said is that there needs to be a new era of, there's a new generation of conservative Australians that are coming up that are defining what it means to be a conservative Australian. And we're different from all of the different conservatives that have come before us. Because like with me, for example, my experience is very similar to Ronald Reagan or Charlton Heston, right? In the fact that I come from the left, but I've become conservative. But I come from a left background, very similar to Donald Trump in that way too, okay? So I'm very much in support of law enforcement and everything, but I'm not in support of the games that have been played with me here, the level of disrespect that has been, that continuously gets pushed on me here because of all their paranoia. So this is my wall here. We've got the QPS. I've got my Vietnamese security guard's hat, Australian flag. We've got our parachute wings. Okay. And there's my board there with all my different plans. So, if you're famous, you're not planning to kill people or fucking bomb people or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like with me, I've been famous for a long time. So I know, like, I knew that I wanted to use my superpowers for good. And that's why I do stuff like I did the banning thing and stuff, because the end result is I'm not discriminating against anybody through doing it. It's the right thing. And the end result, it makes the community better and it makes the economy stronger in the community. And it makes the people that are spending their money in the community feel good about their decisions and comfortable about their decisions. And if we can make them feel more comfortable or as comfortable as possible, we can maximize that experience for them, then that's great. But not at the expense of the safety and the security of those very customers, okay? Because we're letting in people that are their friends or on the fringe that aren't suitable for the establishment. Okay, you can't. What's suitable for the establishment is a particular way of behaving. So if you turn into a fucking pumpkin and threaten to street fight everybody every night, you shouldn't be allowed in the pub. Okay, that's a fucking. If you speak to people, tell them to look at you and shit like that. It's like, so this guy was saying to me the other night, "You look at me," and I wasn't looking at him because there's nobody for me to look at. Like, you know, are you my grandpa, motherfucker? Are you my fucking? Are you my supervisor? You're somebody who's fucking banned from the pub for being a fucking piss hand. You're a piss hand. all of your fucking family members, man, they're all fucking die before they're fucking 50, right? Because they're piss ants, dude. I'm sorry to fucking say it, but that's a reality, man. And you're like 20 and I'm 44, and the chances of you being alive by the time you fucking make it to 44 is fucking slim, bro. It's fucking slim. You know it. I'm not being fucking rude, but it's true. Okay. So if you have the type of mentality where you're not like, give me some fucking cocaine, bitches. Hey, fucking let's snort some cocaine. Let's do some meth. Let's fucking run the streets like a meth stained commando for fucking the next fucking 79 hours or some fucking shit like that before we crash for fucking 5 days. I'm like reading books, writing, fucking trying to solve problems, looking at it. So like I see, it's like there's like tiers, right? There's like my public figure, my public profile, my community profile in Australia, my business profile. Then there's the community, the commercial hotel, and then the top of everything is Henshaw and the United States. And that also is Cambodia too. Okay. So I have I live in that space. I live in that thought process all the time. Okay, what can I do? What I need to do? Oh shit, we need to push forward more in the education sector in Vietnam. So I'm going to spend the next 20 hours on that. I have to push forward in the sector in Cambodia. So I'm going to spend the next 3 days on that. Oh shit, so to be able to do that, I have to finish work at the commercial on fucking Saturday night or Sunday morning and then work through till Tuesday to have all the fucking reports finished so I can start working on my own shit. And that's when I start to get emails from the people in Caloundra harassing me, okay, to try to prevent me from working on real problems. So there's people here in this community, Aboriginal organizations and fucking funded community organizations. You guys are fucking useless and dumb and shit, and you don't know fucking shit from fucking shit compared to me and what I can fucking turn out here. You don't know shit. I'm sorry to say it. You don't deserve your fucking funding compared to me, and you certainly don't deserve the fucking right to try to fuck with me, any of you fucking motherfuckers with your hands out, considering I used to be the Regional Arts Development Fund Youth Arts Representative for fucking Redcliffe for 5 years, fuckheads. So you forget who you're fucking talking to. 16 years of age, Redcliffe Peninsula Youth and Family Services. I said to Aaron Wise, fuck you, Aaron. Fuck you. We're punks. We have our own fucking gang. We can do what we want. And he said, okay. You said, fuck me. What about this? Why don't you come along with me to the meeting and you're my backup with your fucking gang of punks then, okay? Come to the Redcliffe PCYC and let's fucking, you can help us do community work, okay? That's where I started. Let's do the Purple Room. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's create the Redcliffe Youth Center, okay? That was my brain fucking child, okay? And Dave Douglas Stewart can tell you that that's true because he knows that there's a video that was filmed there with Scarred Hope inside that building. And then after that video was filmed, that's where the idea came to mind about the youth center, and that's where it originated from. So there's evidence, historical evidence, and then also they know, like anybody who was in the council and can look at the historical written record in Redcliffe knows that I brought that idea to them, okay, with Luke Campbell and Aaron Wise. So I was trained in the community sector, and then I got into disabilities. Okay. So I was into disabilities before disabilities were popular, before anybody wanted to work in disabilities. And at the time that I was working in disabilities, your mum and your dad and your auntie and your uncle and you would have been saying things about people with disabilities that were very not fair and dehumanizing when I was like one of the very few people in the world that was pushing for SRV from my particular generation anyway, pushing for SRV for people. So now what I look at is social. There's a whole bunch of people that have adult accountability disorder that I've spoken about. They do. Okay. They don't want to take accountability, and alcohol is a major factor in that. People don't like me talking about anything in general, and sometimes people accuse me of being like a little bit like Mr. T, but I kind of think Mr. T has always been a hero of mine, so there's nothing wrong with Mr. T. Just like Dolph Lundgren and stuff like that. Okay. They're my heroes. They're my fucking heroes, man. So I don't want war with the people in my country. I just want them to get hip to what the fuck is going on, how I see it, and how they've been analyzing it, how they've been processing, and how they've been approaching it. You're gonna fucking lose, man. If I get killed or I get blown away here in this country, you guys are so fucked. And you should have just let me leave this country and not play this fucking political prisoner game that you've been playing with me. And like, this is it. I'm allowed to work, providing they're putting me in extreme danger, and I have no fucking work rights. Okay. And other than that, they're always just trying to they're always trying to punish you or try to tell you what to do when you've been around as long as I've been around. And they see, oh, there's no value in you logging like between 40 to 100 pages of writing a day for your business. Okay. So between all of these things here, I have different projects. Okay. My projects, what I intended to do here is to start something like the genocide education in Cambodia, documentation center of Cambodia center, and that's what I have here independently. But I also have people in Caloundra that are like maybe Chamber of Commerce or something, or these businessmen. A lot of them are New Zealanders, white New Zealanders, who think that, hey, bro, we can just get people fucking murdered by the bikie gangs if we don't like them. We can just unnecessarily just like surveil you and spy on you and oh man, like guided, instead of guided meditation, it's guided interrogation. Go down to the yoga studio, coffee shop, or record store and go through a guided interrogation for the fucking corrupt local guy who's got his finger on the panic button for the tactical response task force to come around and shoot you, because the first time they came around to try to shoot you, they failed, and that spooked them that they missed you. Right. So yeah, I wanted a career and shit, and then what you fucking idiots did is you turned me into like Robert Mitchum. So fuck, what do I fucking care? But I can't do anything with my life or with my career when my fucking life and my work is being bastardized by you fucking cocksuckers. So I've had disagreements with people in the music scene. Yeah, I fucking have. I've had disagreements with people in all different fighters, fucking everything, right? I've had disagreements with everyone, army, everything. But the difference between me and all of you guys is like when somebody who's criticized me, who's like a tough army dude, walks up to me and stuff, like I don't fucking shake. I'm not afraid of fucking shit, dudes. I'm cool, man, but I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of these dudes, man. They fucking know it too. Because they've seen how I've fought the last 5 fucking years when they've been their whack ass friends, and they've seen the whack ass shit they've fucking attempted on me. And how I've prevailed. So in the martial arts magazines in Vietnam, when I first come back, they were saying I've been in 2,500, 2,750 fights or something like that. That was 5 years ago before I came back here. I'd say I'm over 3,000 dudes, critical incidences now because of that. Like if I'm to count all of the stuff that's happened here since I've come back here and consider it myself as a DIA contractor, a Vietnamese Ministry of Public Security security guard, and a Cambodian Royal Cambodian military contractor, that's, you know, coming back with that trifecta, right? The trifecta. An Australian that's worked for the Americans, the Cambodians, and the Vietnamese, they just couldn't tolerate having anybody like that here. So you can try to say that I'm a communist. I'm not. You can try to say I'm a fascist. I'm not. But I know which ones of you are taking your ideas from the fascist playbook or from the communist playbook. I can fucking tell you which ones have. And it's not me. So when that guy came up there and was going crazy and everything, and I just sat there beside the girls and was just like, just watching him when he's going crazy at me and all that stuff and standing my ground with him. What do you expect me to do? To go out there and try to fucking fight him when he's acting like a fuckwit? I was just there for you. Just go, this is just part of the fucking show. You've got a wine bottle, you're going to cut my head off, but you're acting like a fucking clown in the process. So I'm just going to fucking fold my arms and sit here with the girls that are filming and just get like right in a shot in front of the camera and just be like, look at this fucking galoot. This fucking fool. Okay. So yeah, with writing, you gotta, one of the reasons why I went overseas and I diversified everything is because of vernacular. And I remember I ran out of lyrics before I left Australia. I ran out of words, and I didn't have enough experience. I got to a point after writing Blue Collar Suicide and the Raging Lives album, and yeah, Blue Collar Suicide and the Raging Lives album, that I had no lyrical ideas left anymore. I did, but they were like, there was good ideas, but they weren't like well connected, reasonably connected. There wasn't the right type of experience or depth that I had. I kind of lost the knack for writing lyrics for a little while, and then I kind of brought it into everything else. But like, I'm a lyricist, so now it's like I want to be able to get my voice right in my writing. So I'd prefer that I wasn't writing about the things that I write about, but you keep on pushing it up. And so this is the thing, like with the police and stuff, like with what I do. If you come at me, it's just like the same thing with the fucking guys up at the guys that got banned up in Nambour or in Caloundra, the guys that I catch all the time that are trying to fucking sneak up on me. It's just like a colonialist manning a machine gun, and then you dudes are just running at the machine gun like a Zulu with a fucking half spear or something like that, running at a fucking Gatling gun. And bush, 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 bush. And I'm talking about it metaphorically. I'm not talking about actual firearms. I'm talking about the metaphorical Gatling gun, which is me and my business. We're metaphorical. I'm a fucking metaphorical literacy Gatling gun, not a literal Gatling gun. I'm a literacy Gatling gun, motherfucker. I'm a fucking literacy Lewis gun. Okay? They have to cool me down, baby. They have to cool me down. Because they're fucking just filling the fucking trenches with dead bodies, man. Right? Falling in their shadow and their fucking footprint, right? Bush. Like a fucking World War I movie. Like Gallipoli or some shit like that, when you see the guys running at a fucking machine gun. So we should all be friends, and we should all be like high-fiving and being cool and doing good, positive optics with each other, not like Khmer Rouge bullshit. And that's it. This is fucking Khmer Rouge bullshit. And then Australia has a habit of writing a whole bunch of negative stuff about Cambodia that is not fair. It's not fair. And a lot of Australians eat that shit up. There's negative stuff in Cambodia, but as I've been able to document, there's more negative things in Australia. And what is my final objective is that the culture, the institutional culture, must not only be hurting me and must not only be being used in the way that it's being used against me, it must be being used against other people who like free speech as well, who should have the opportunity to fucking have free speech in this country of Australia, because we're brought up in a time where like people like Bob Hawke and John Howard told us that we could. So there's a new standard, and it's like a neoconservative standard that you guys eat up thinking that it's left-wing politics. It's neoconservatism. You eat up a particular brand of neoconservatism if it's marketed in a left-wing leaning way, okay? That's how it works. So yeah, like with the stuff before, the problems before, the thing that turned into a stalking thing, the woman, as I said, I've made podcasts about it before. We can read about all of the inconsistencies and all that type of stuff. The reality is the woman before was involved with all these bikie gang guys, noms and stuff, and she was dating noms, and the noms and the bikie gangs needed somebody to help them make something up so they could get me in jail, so they could murder me, or they could put me in a situation where they could have me vulnerable, and it'd just be a matter of them being able to come here and try to abduct me and or whatever, right? And that's how it's been here. And they would have fucking succeeded if it wasn't for the fact that I was famous. So like, fame's a weird thing because like it's you fucking but you got to protect it, like with Dyson. He does his own show and people are always trying to fuck with him and trying to niggle him on costs and shit, and he doesn't fucking take it, and people throw shit at him and fucking threaten him and stuff, and he, as he says, like, I've fucking had people fuck with me and I've survived. You say you're gonna fucking come after me, I'll fucking come after you, motherfucker. You want to fucking throw down with me, I'll fucking throw down with you, you fucking fool. So my kids, man, yeah, I think they don't even know that I'm famous. They don't even know that I'm famous. I think to them it's been kind of weird, because everybody was always negging on me and treating me like I was different, and they just thought that it was because I was a foreigner and that I must have been a bad dude because everyone was always negging on me. They didn't understand that the family and shit were negging on me because I was like one of the most famous people in the fucking country. And then I was the son-in-law that had broken up with their daughter who turned into a fucking whore. And then my daughter didn't understand that. And then so my daughter, I think she hasn't spoken to me in a while, but her mum was financially fucking me for a few years. And then my daughter stopped kind of contacting me and freaked out once she found out that I was famous, because she understood what was going on and she didn't want to have a part of it. And then she understood, oh, fuck. So everyone's always negging on my dad. And then like all of my generation now understands that my dad is one of the most famous people that's ever existed in this fucking country of Vietnam. So because I'm one of the most famous people to have ever existed in Vietnam, one of the most famous white people to have ever existed in Vietnam, arguably one of the only white people that come from that have a positive outlook with Vietnam and are viewed positively by Vietnam not being a bad guy is me. Okay. And that's an experience. And I did that to prove to my little girl that I loved her. And when she was a little kid, because people used to laugh at her because she used to think that any foreigner on TV was me. And then I became famous so I could fucking show them up. That's really, I saw an opportunity to become famous when I was about 25 or 26 or something. I met Tim Page and then everything. And then I just I think it was that between 26 and 29. So those 3 years that I was with Rod Stubbs and everything, him and Chris Jones and Dominic Scriven groomed me a particular way. And then that way ended up becoming, they groomed me for fame. They were grooming me for some type of success, but they groomed me for fame. They were grooming me for like corporate success or something like that, governmental and corporate type of success. But they groomed me for fame. And like Rod Stubbs has always been famous too, but he was always kind of like, he liked the fame, he liked the attention and stuff. But so yeah, I'm just good at being famous, and people don't like it. And there's other people here that are much less famous than me that are very successful and making a lot of money, and they see me as competition here on the Sunshine Coast. They need to run me out. Like even the MP here, it's like how many times more famous I am than them, right? And like when I had the meeting on February 14th on Valentine's Day with Marty Hunt said to me, "Oh mate, you should be my social media guy. Like, you know, you could make me very well known, famous and stuff like that." And I was like, "Yeah, I could, and I'm going to do that." And he didn't believe that I was going to do it, and I have. Okay. So whatever's going on, all I've been trying to do is stabilize the community of Nambour. So thanks for listening to me, all you guys out there. And yeah, don't be negative. And as far as you guys, let's do some of this. Okay, let's see. So let's see. Do you think I'm fit at the moment or I'm unhealthy? Let's see. Let's do this. Let's do some training. Let's do a few minutes. Okay. Yeah, my form's still tight. I suppose my form's like a little bit. I've got a whole bunch of different styles, but I have adapted a little bit of Sugar Ray Leonard in like the last few years. But peace, everyone. Thanks for listening. Be cool.